I'm Margaret Brennan in Washington, and this week on Face the Nation, presidential politics takes center stage within all three branches of government, and those politics get personal on the Republican campaign trail. As former President Trump juggled court rulings, caucuses, and Supreme Court arguments, it was the current president and the special counsel Robert Hur's investigation into Mr. Biden's mishandling of classified documents that led to the week's most damaging headlines. Although the Hur report cleared the president of criminal wrongdoing, he described Biden as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, a damning characterization for the 81-year-old president. The president responded with fury.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. My memory's not good. My memory is fine.
Vice President Harris went even further, calling Hur's words
clearly politically motivated, gratuitous.
Will Democrats take on their own Justice Department? We'll talk to President Biden's personal attorney, Bob Bauer. GOP presidential contender Nikki Haley will join us to make her case for mental competency tests for both Biden and Trump. And as Israel prepares to invade southern Gaza, there is increasing concern among its allies. We'll check in with Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, one of the key negotiators of that short-lived bipartisan border bill. He's trying to get aid to Israel and Ukraine through Congress. Finally, as America prepares to tune in to Super Bowl 58, our very own James Brown will be here to tell us how things have gotten better on and off the field for the NFL. It's all just ahead on Face the Nation. Good morning and welcome to Face the Nation. Washington is still reeling from the White House pushback on special counsel Robert Hur's report, and we will get to that momentarily. But we want to begin today with the last candidate standing between Donald Trump and the Republican nomination. That is former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. She's on the campaign trail in North Augusta, South Carolina, and joins us this morning. Good morning to you.
Thanks, Margaret, for having me.
So, Ambassador, you have made mental acuity a signature issue for your campaign for the better part of the past year. You're handing out paper copies now of a cognitive assessment. When do you plan to take it, and are you at all concerned that you might turn off some older voters?
I have no problem taking it, and what I've said is we need to have mental competency tests for anyone over the age of 75. I don't care if we do it for 50 and up. But what happened with Joe Biden this week and what we've seen with Donald Trump is another example of why. We have to face the reality of the fact that when you get to those ages, you get diminished. These are people making decisions on our national security. These are people making decisions on the future of our economy. We need to know they're at the top of their game.
This morning, NATO, the Western Alliance, issued a statement responding to remarks Donald Trump made last night at a rally, and they warned it puts U.S. soldiers at risk. Here's what he said.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
If elected, would you adhere to the premise that an attack on one is an attack on all?
I mean, absolutely. NATO has been a success story for the last 75 years. But what bothers me about this is don't take the side of a thug who kills his opponents. Don't take the side of someone who has gone in and invaded a country and 500,000 people have died or been wounded because of Putin. Don't take the side of someone who continues to lie. I dealt with Russia every day. The last thing we ever want to do is side with Russia. What we always need to remember is America needs to have friends. After September 10th, we needed a lot of friends. We can never get into the point where we don't need friends. Now, we do want NATO allies to pull their weight. But there are ways you can do that without sitting there and telling Russia, have your way with these countries. That's not what we want. If you notice, Russia has never invaded a NATO country. They've invaded Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. They are actually very intimidated by NATO. NATO allows us to prevent war. We need to always focus on preventing war.
I want to ask you about another comment that Donald Trump made that was personal about your husband, Major Michael Haley, who is currently deployed with the South Carolina National Guard. Trump said this about you.
Where's her husband? Oh, he's away. He's away. What happened to her husband? What happened to her husband? Where is he? He's gone.
I know you said this is disqualifying, but during his first presidential campaign, Donald Trump mocked former POW John McCain and a Gold Star family. He was still elected. You agreed to work for him. Why do you think that's disqualifying now?
Well, I agreed to serve our country, and I'm proud that I got to serve our country. There's nothing, no more higher honor than to serve the people of this country. But what I can tell you is, look, it's insulting to military members. It's insulting to military families. And the part that bothers me is he continues to do this. This isn't personal about me and Michael. This is about what it says to every member who sacrifices for us. This is about what it says to every military family who sacrifices alongside of them. We can't have someone who sits there and mocks our men and women who are trying to protect America. It's a pattern. It's a pattern of chaos. It's a pattern of irresponsibility. It's a pattern of just saying things that are not helpful in strengthening America. And this is a chance America's going to get to decide. We know what Donald Trump is. You could watch that whole rally yesterday and it'll tell you all kinds of things. But the thing is, do you want it again? We know what Joe Biden is. You can see the press conference. You can look at the special investigation that says he's diminished. But do you want it again? I mean, the one thing we need to understand is for Republicans, with Donald Trump, he lost in 2018, he lost in 2020, he lost in 2022. And if you look at after the New Hampshire election, he went on this unhinged rant. And all he did was talk about revenge. And then you look, he said, anyone that supported me was barred permanently from MAGA. Then he pushed the RNC to name him the presumptive nominee. Then he lost his court case and he went on a rant again. The problem with all of that is at no point is he ever talking about the American people. He's never talking about the fact that we have wasteful spending and we're $34 trillion in debt. He's not talking about the fact that only 31% of 8th graders in our country are proficient in reading. He's not talking about an open border where all it takes is one to have a 9/11 moment. He's not talking about the lawlessness in our cities, and he's not talking about anything about the wars that are happening around the world. That's the problem. That's what we're facing when this decision comes down in the election.
Well, he did talk about the border. In fact, he encouraged Republicans to kill the bipartisan deal that was brokered. And last night, he was also talking about at this very critical moment for Ukraine, when the Senate is this weekend debating military aid, he came out and criticized the nearly $100 billion aid package. Given what you know, would you encourage Republican lawmakers now to back this nearly $100 billion security supplemental?
Well, the first thing I'll say is, I think that Biden and Congress have done a poor job telling Americans why they should care about Ukraine. And so you can't blame the American people if they say, why are we doing this? The way we need to look at it is I don't think we should give any country straight up cash because you can't follow it and you can't hold it accountable. But I do think we should support Ukraine, and I do think we should give them the equipment and ammunition to win. Because listen to Putin's own words. He said once he takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries, and that puts America at war. This is about preventing war. That's the important reason why we have to support Ukraine.
I want to ask you about Israel. Half of U.S. adults polled believe that the military response from Israel in the Gaza Strip has gone too far. That's according to the latest AP poll. That's up from 40% in the month of November. Do you think half of Americans are wrong on this issue?
I will never say that any American person is wrong. It's not for a leader to say whether they're wrong or right or good or bad. That's the problem that we have in America now. I think what's important is just to explain and communicate why this matters. I have been in Israel multiple times. I've been on the border and seen all the threats that face Israel. But when you look at what happened on October 7th, when they beheaded those people and burned those babies alive and took those girls out of the concert and raped them and dragged their naked bodies through the streets of Gaza, what did they say? Death to to Israel, death to America.
That's what Hamas said.
Yes. After 9/11, did we want anyone to tell us what to do? No. We wanted to make sure that we destroyed the terrorists. Israel wants to destroy the terrorists. We all care about the people in Gaza. We all do. The problem is Hamas is holding them hostage. They always have. But Margaret, where are the Arab countries? Where are the Arab countries going to Hamas saying we need to protect the people of Gaza?
They're
because
trying to
Israel
help
doesn't want to do this to the people of Gaza.
Release, many of them right now. But are you saying you disagree with President Biden when he says Israelis have gone over the top in referring to the civilian casualties?
Hamas has said they're going to do this again. Israel needs to do whatever it takes to make sure this doesn't happen again. And that means eliminating Hamas. They have tried working with all of the Arab countries to go and help the people of Gaza. If anybody worries about the people of Gaza, ask the Arab community, why aren't you stopping Hamas? Why aren't you stopping Iran? They have the ability to do that. Why are you going to Israel? I have seen many times where everybody runs to Israel's defense when she gets... Yeah, but the point is, don't go and blame Israel for this. I have seen many times where Israel gets hit and everybody supports Israel. But when Israel hits back, everybody condemns her. That is wrong. They went through a horrific time. You've got to go to Hamas. Why are we not putting the pressure on Iran and Hamas? That's where the pressure should be. Why would you put it on the one that was hit? That's not what we do. We should have the backs of Israel and force the Arab countries to tell Hamas they've got to stop. That would end this war immediately.
Ambassador Haley, thank you for your time this morning. Face the Nation will be back in 1 minute, so stay with us.